Alright. This is going to be fun for me. What's up, everybody who clicked on this video? This is Legend, 1/3 of the co-hosts of the RW Wrestling Podcast. And we're doing something a little different today. Or I am going to be doing something a little different today. And it's going to be fun because I like to talk personal opinions and my personal interests. So I'm going to be counting down my top 10 personal favorite wrestlers in all Elite Wrestling at the moment. And before I get started with that, I'm going to throw a few honorable mentions in there because they didn't quite make the cut and it was a little harder than I thought it was going to be. But Sammy Guevara, Scorpio Sky, Brian Cage, and Orange Cassidy for varying different reasons. But since they did not make the list, they will not be talked about right now. But also want to throw out a shout out to the AEW Women's Champion Hikaru Shida, who almost also qualified for this list. But moving forward, we're going to jump right into this personal view of mine of the top 10 AEW wrestlers in the company at the moment, in my opinion. So let's do it. Coming in at number 10, starting out hot, is the current reigning AEW World Heavyweight Champion, Jon Moxley. And this is an interesting pick because when I was originally thinking of doing this idea, I thought I was going to place him higher on this list, but he barely makes the cut at number 10, mainly because it took to him leaving the Federation, WWE, whatever you want to call it, to get me to like the dude. I hated Dean Ambrose for the longest time, and it took the storyline of Jericho leading into Revolution for me to get into him. Like the All Out Lights Out match with Kenny Omega from Full Gear really helped too, but I just had a hard time liking him. It wasn't working out, but something about what he's doing now, it would be better if there's currently fans. Like he probably would rank higher if he had the fans behind him in the reaction, so that might not be helping, and being the current champion in a fanless era kind of hurts him a little bit. But overall, he's still got the intensity and the brawling and the beat the living shit out of you wannabe, like, but also caring. Like he told Darby Allen, just stay down, like that kind of shit. But overall, like I got him at number 10. 5 years ago, he would have been on my top 10 least favorite WWE superstars list if I did one of those. Like that's how much I didn't like him. So to break number 10, he should be happy with that. But we're going to move on. Speaking of Darby Allen, who I just mentioned in the Jon Moxley part, he's coming in at number 9 because this dude is insane. Other than the shortcomings of being small and blah, 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 like trying to suspend your disbelief that he could win a world championship. And at this point, he's the only person in AEW who's had 2 world title matches. But that's no here nor there. He's definitely over. He's definitely got that Jeff Hardy go for it or die trying. Like win or die trying. Do some crazy shit. He's got the best suicide dive in all of wrestling for all I care, because he doesn't put his hands out in front of people. He throws his whole body weight into him. He's got some crazy stunts. Some of the moves he does, pretty damn innovative. But the guy's insane. He's got a great character. And this whole, I don't know, man, this whole persona really works out. Every time I see him, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get old of this gimmick. If you just get a little slightly bigger, more believable. But in general, the guy he's a star in the making. Like I said, like everybody else says, a young Jeff Hardy. The guy has no ceiling to where he could be in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. He can basically do he can accomplish what he wants to accomplish if he stays doing what he's doing now. Finding his way in at number 8 on this list is one half of Zero Miedo. Definitely didn't pronounce that right. Lucha Brothers. The outstanding Rey Fenix. There's nothing I can say about this guy that nobody else, or everybody else in any other review of Rey Fenix can say about how outstanding he is, creative-wise. Got the gymnastics, choreographed, whatever argument to his moves, but they're so flashy, stunning, and just out-of-the-top craziness. Like, I'd like to see him have a match with Darby Allen from number 9. That would be insane. Those two would probably kill each other. But maybe not. But the things he does are insane. I can't even put into words some of the stuff he does, that spinning heel kick he does coming out of the ropes, just flawless almost every time. He comes out at number 8 especially because he's mostly a tag team wrestler and they do their combos, but when he messes up, he messes up because he jumps out of character. And you can see it in his face that he's visibly frustrated with the fact that he messed up, and Penta's got to get him back in the game. It happened at Fight for the Fallen, the first one back in 2019. It happened a few other times. I think against FTR, they had a mistake too that was noticeable. But between him and his brother, they're very creative, but he personally is the one that impresses me more, and I really wish that he wouldn't have gotten hurt before Double or Nothing, because he would have been in Mark Quinn's spot for the TNT title defense that Cody had against him. And they should still give it to him, because I'd still want to see Cody and Rey Fenix, but Phoenix is a star. Mark Quinn almost made this list too, for the same reasons, but Phoenix is more polished, so he gets the nod. Now, this is where things get a little bit more interesting, at least for me and my co-hosts, because they know I'm doing this. They're going to do their own lists, but these next 2 entrants will probably shock them, because I didn't think they'd be this low on this list. Like, coming in at number 7 is the Triple H of AEW himself, the TNT champion, Cody. Don't call me Rhodes. Cody. I love Cody. I can say that about everybody else, or everybody on this list. I have nothing negative to say about it. There's a lot of Cody. There's nothing I can say here that anybody that's watching this will not know about Cody, because he has a style and it works. It's more old school, but with the new flashier shit too. I don't like the disaster kick, or whatever he calls it now. I don't like the Cody cutter. Any of his springboard moves, I don't like at all. But he puts on really good matches with everybody. His match with Jungle Boy for the first TNT title defense, he takes an ass whipping. He can put on a story. He comes in at number 7, not because of his wrestling ability and how much I like the guy, but when it comes to a big pay-per-view match, it's going to be a really good match. And it's going to be overbooked like shit. Not like shit. Overbooked as hell at the end of it. Shawn Spears at All Out last year, overbooked as hell. MJF. Well, not MJF. We're skipping that one. Jericho was overbooked as hell at the end, setting up MJF, which is also overbooked. And then Lance Archer was even more so overbooked, with Mike Tyson and everything in there for what happened at the end of that. This is a lot of outside stuff that takes away from what's going on in the ring. It's entertaining, but I think it doesn't ruin Cody, it just takes away from Cody. So my focus isn't on Cody in these high-profile matches, and that's why he comes in at number 7 on this list. But he is in my second favorite AEW match to this point, which was the Double or Nothing match with his brother Dustin at the first pay-per-view, and that will forever be a classic. I don't care what anybody says, that match was fantastic. And speaking of people that are fantastic, coming in at number 6, the Omega Mega Man, the Best Bout Machine, the Cleaner, the One Wing Angel, all these nicknames, King of Japan for all I care. Kenny Omega comes in number 6 because of Japan. I still love what he's done in AEW. He's in my favorite match that's happened in AEW. The tag team match at Revolution with the Young Bucks is not hands down, but is what I would rank. That's a different video, but I would rank probably, unless I really think about it, maybe find something else, but currently, as I'm speaking, would be my number 1 if I did a top 10 AEW match. The Young Bucks versus Kenny and Hangman, phenomenal. Now, that being said, when AEW started, if I did this list, he would have been number 1, because I loved everything watching from Japan and the stuff with Okada and all of that. But he's not there yet. And I know they're building it, and they're building it, and they're building it. So it's going to get there. Best Bout Machine, or more so now, it looks like the Cleaner, which is part of the Best Bout Machine. But he's still really, really, really good. The pointing's a little irritating sometimes. It's a little great. But you can't say anything like the One Wing Angel, his moveset, the V-Trigger, his tagging with Hangman. Surprisingly, I'm very surprised that that's a working team and that they put the belts on him and kept him there. But that's going to be a hell of a storyline to look forward to. And I hope that's where we get to where Omega can move up this list. Because this list is more about not what they do in the ring. It's how I feel about them, and how it's kind of a mix of how I feel and how they're being used. Because how I feel is based off how they're being used. If that makes sense. Some of the people at the beginning of the list, like Rey Fenix, he's not really being used, but he's just that good. But I know how good Omega can be, and I know how good Cody can be, and that's why they fall back on the list a little bit more, just because of their current situations. And it's a tough list to do. I sat there for a while thinking about how I was going to rank this. But yeah, Cody number 7, Kenny number 6, Young Bucks aren't on this list. I guess I don't like the Elite. Who knew? Jokes. I love the Elite. Not so much the Bucks, though. Speaking of not liking the Bucks and breaking the rules of this top 10 video, because I am putting a tag team on this video, so it's a top 11, technically, but not. FTR comes in at number 5. They've barely been in the company, but there's nothing negative I can say about FTR. They blow the majority, if not all, of the tag teams in AEW out of the water. They're that good, and that's about as much as I need to say. You can't be that old school and that good, and yes, I am one of those marks who knows they got mistreated in WWE, and I'm not going to hide it. The whole point of me doing the top 10 AEW superstars or wrestlers first was to basically point out that I am a mark for this company, but I will, and we will, be doing top 10s for the WWE people as well, which will be a drastically different video than this. But FTR, they come in, they're still FTR, they're working the AEW style matches, but getting their style played into it. They're still FTR, they're still the Revival. It's just weird to see them like put in with the Lucha Brothers, because the Lucha Brothers aren't American Alpha. They're all over the place. But they made the match work, and I really enjoyed it. And hopefully, they're the ones to take the titles off of Kenny and Hangman here very shortly, so that we can get to that Kenny Hangman singles push. But the only tag team to get put on this list, FTR, comes in at number 5. Fuck the Revival, Fear the Revolt, For the Revolution, whatever you want to call them, FTRR, whatever you want to call them. They are golden. They deserve everything AEW is going to give them. Hopefully they win the titles and they beat the Young Bucks and they hold the titles for a while. Here's hoping. Can't go wrong with FTR. Cheers, boys. Coming in at number 4, somebody who we haven't seen in a long time because of the whole COVID thing and the travel restrictions and everything, but people keep forgetting he's still around. That's the Bastard Pac. Pac, whatever you want to call him, I'm going to call him Pac. He makes number 4 because I can name off match after match after match after match after match that I forgot how good this guy was until he was here. His trilogy with Hangman Page, his trilogy with Kenny Omega, especially that Iron Man match. His match, I think he had 2 matches with Darby Allen. No, not Darby Allen, with Jon Moxley. The guy's flawless. I think pure talent and execution is Pac. And when he comes back, I hope they keep the Death Triangle thing going, because That was actually really interesting before everything got fucked. But this guy needs to come back and be spotlighted. Maybe not world title now because they're pushing with MJF and Mox and all that. They kind of have a set, I think, for what they're doing there. Give this guy the TNT title and let him run. Because who wouldn't want to see Pac on TV every week defending a championship? I'd like it. Because hopefully they keep doing that when Cody loses. But Pac TNT champion, Pac world champion, yes. It'll happen. I just don't know when. But the guy's an aerial onslaught of moves. The Black Arrow is ridiculous looking every time he does it. His brutalizer looks vicious and intense as a submission finisher. More so than, say, John Cena's STF, where it doesn't look like he's doing shit. But this guy has everything to gain from AEW, and they're going to hopefully give it to him because there are a lot of stars in this company, or at least to be built stars, and people that are legitimately stars. You can argue this all you want, but Pac is a star. Especially, perfect example, he's such a star in a heel way that Orange Cassidy match at Revolution was ridiculously good. Because he played into everything Orange was doing in a serious manner that made it work even better than they probably thought it was going to. That crowd was going crazy, booing him for everything he did, cheering for all the Orange Cassidy spots, and then eventually getting booed out of the building when he won the match. Perfect. Epitome of why he's on this list. But now we move into the meat of this list, because if you've been paying attention, you probably know who the top 3 people on this list are. And with that being said, raise your hand if you love legends that can do no wrong, because that is number 3 on this list. Le Champion, leader of the Inner Circle, with Floyd the Bat, the Demo God, which is probably the worst of all those catchphrases. A little bit of the bubbly, first ever AEW World Champion, formerly the youngest AEW World Champion of all time, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho would be in my top 5 anywhere. He'd be number 1 in WWE because Jericho can do no wrong. He's never been bad. His character's not bad anywhere. His characters are perfect. His AEW character, well, that's maybe not perfect. His AEW character is like, it's a joke, but it's a serious joke. Like, he's feuding with Orange Cassidy, and it works. He feuded with Mox, and it worked. He feuded with Cody, and it worked. He feuded with Adam Page, and that's probably the worst of the big feuds he's had, but he makes them work. He's had great matches, pushing 50, had great matches, a great match with Darby Allen, a great match with Hangman Page, a decent match with Cody, a decent match with Moxley, a really exceptionally, surprisingly good match with Orange Cassidy. He's putting over his whole Inner Circle group is a whole nother thing. Like, killer on the mic, decent enough in the ring still at 50 years old, 49 years old, almost 50. Can still perform, and he's just doing it, in my mind, to help the company out, because he's only going to be there for, at least in ring, for another 2, 3 or so years if he's smart. And he does commentary. I mean, he yells into the microphone, but he does commentary and it works. Him and Tony Schiavone, Tony Schiavone, were actually really good for the 3 or 4 weeks that they did it together and on Fyter Fest. Like, whatever Jericho puts his mind to, at this point in his career, his early point of his career, the Ayatollah of Rock and Roll, all that shit. Yeah, shit. Everything he's done worked. Not everything, but most of what he does, his characters work, and his AEW run has been phenomenal. And he may not be the main event player anymore, not running after the world title, which is perfectly fine because I don't like the immediate rematch stuff, and They're so early on, they shouldn't have a multiple champion anyways. But Jericho's just top 5 legend for me. Top 5 legend. Whole different video. Top 5 legend. Promo work. Maybe second for me to The Rock. Gotta really think about it, but The Rock, best promo work. But yeah, Chris Jericho comes in at number 3. He's going to be in everybody's AEW top 10 list. He needs to be. He should be. If I'm wrong, explain it to me. That's up to you guys, Chris and Albert. When you get to yours, let me know if he doesn't make your top 5. Why? Oh man, number 2, and it's going to give away who number 1 is right away. But it's the anxious millennial cowboy has been drinking Hangman Adam Page, one half of the AEW Tag Team Champions. And I'll tell you, nobody's character has changed my opinion of somebody more since AEW started than this guy. I didn't see him as a World Championship contender when he won the Casino pre-show Battle Royal at Double or Nothing to get the title match against Jericho at All Out. And then the All Out match was good. He came in on a horse. It was awesome. That was probably the first time I'm like, maybe. But they made the right choice by giving it to Jericho. Obviously, anybody want to argue that it should have been Page? Let me know. If they did that match now, Adam Page, his character developed so well, and his in-ring work with Kenny Omega teaming with him, and basically being the guy, the way they're building it, he's the guy that carries the team. He's the guy that wins the matches. He's just that good. His character, and I said it earlier about Phoenix and all that, his moveset is great. He doesn't do the Deadeye that much anymore, but he did hit it a couple weeks back. That's a great move, but the Buckshot Lariat is a legitimate finishing move. I said it earlier too, that I'm surprised that this tag team of Kenny's worked out so much, or so well, and that they've actually slow built this dissension storyline. But it's worked. His interactions with the crowd when there was crowds, drinking beers, getting over, he was definitely over, and still is. You just can't tell because there's nobody there. But he's got more charisma than I ever thought he had. And he's actually probably also my most improved wrestler in AEW. But every time he's on TV, I must watch. Those lower thirds, has been drinking, didn't like the white tape, wrist tape that he had last week. Ancient Millennial Cowboy. There's a post-apocalyptic cowboy one too, I think. But you can't go wrong with Adam Page. They figured something out with his character, and they just shoot him to the moon, because that guy needs to go. He'll be world champion and can carry the company as world champion. If MJF's not the first, MJF's not the first to be a non-WWE guy to win the title. It should be Page. But speaking of the man that everybody loves to hate, and you hate him so much that you put him at number 1 on your list, the salt of the earth, better than you, and you know it, flips off your kid and jerks off in your face, and tells you to kiss the ring at ringside. Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF, number 1 on this list. Number 1 in AEW, probably number 2 heel to Randy Orton in the entire wrestling industry right now. For me, and we're talking personal opinions for me, only match to Randy Orton's heel work on the mic, MJF. I can't tell you how many times I go back and rewatch almost every promo he's cut since AEW started. His match work is fine, and his match with Jungle Boy at Double Nothing being a highlight of what his match work is. But he's strictly number 1 for his promo work and the okayness of his matches. His match with Cody being probably a highlight too, but Jungle Boy was the one that really showed his ability in the ring. But his promo work puts him at number 1 because it's so damn good. You love to hate him. Hate him so much. So good. Everything he did with Cody you wanted to see his ass get. You wanted to see him get his ass beat. Everything he's doing now is kind of face heelish. It's still heelish because we deserve better. But he's basically trashing the whole company with the hashtag not my champion thing, but also promoting that he's black, or he's black, white, and gold, like through and through, going to be here for 25 years, blah, blah, blah. It's almost sound face if you didn't know what a dastardly heel he was. It was so weird, but I think he can't do no wrong. Like, I can't talk about his ring work. It's there. He's not around much on TV. Cutting a promo on Griff Garrison in the middle of the ring a couple weeks back was good. Like, I'm doing a horrible job in my ramblings of explaining why he's number one on my list. But if you know, you know. And the real answer is it's because he's better than you. And you know it. And soon to be AEW World Champion, hopefully. But with that being said, if you got this far and you don't hate me yet for just listing off people and not really explaining why they go where they go and my nonsensical ramblings of a list that this is, because I didn't really explain anything, thank you for watching. And this is our little sub-project that will go on opposite of the podcast. So it'll be like one of these kind of things a week. Either me, Chris, or Albert will have one of these a week. And then the podcast will also have one a week. So that's kind of the process we're going with. One or two of these a week, but mostly one of these and one podcast. But if you made it this far, hope you enjoyed listening to me talk to myself for almost 30 minutes. But those are my personal favorite wrestlers in AEW currently. If you want to argue, debate, talk, comment, or say anything about how wrong I am, or that you agree, or anything like that, comment section's right there. Appreciate it if you got this far again. Peace. Till next time.